Hi, today's video I'm going to go through making the second belly on the whip that we've been working our way through. A lot of the information is the same, the process is very similar to the belly that we've already done in the previous video, so I'm not going to shoot too much more. These videos are getting really long and yeah, like I say, most of it's been covered. I will go through and reshoot some of the stuff, try and get you a bit better view on the start. We're going to go through how to correct or adjust our strand lengths once you've made your first whip. We're going to go through, I'll explain about the tension, and I might show you how to gut the longer lengths. So here, the same as the last one, I'll just go through it quickly. I've actually included in these columns in brackets where we want these strands to drop out. Basically we want the first strand, strand 12 on the second belly here to drop out at 20 inches, and then each successive strand is dropping out 4.5 inches after that. So we've got them written down here. Hopefully you can read it. If you can't, you can work it out from dropping strand number 12 at 20 inches. Yeah, so as before, we're going to be doubling our lengths over, so we actually want just 6 lengths at 191 inches, and we'll be putting a knot in at these lengths here. So we'll put one in at 46, one at 55, one at 64, one at 73, one at 82, and one at 91. And as before, we'll be arranging our bundles in exactly the same way. So we'll start with our shortest one on the right, the next shortest one on the left, etc., as we go along. I hope that's clear enough for you guys. Yeah, leave me a message if you want any part of this explained in further detail. Alrighty, I think I have a plan as well to get you a bit better shot and for the start of this thing, and hopefully I won't lose any footage this time, so we're going to cover that bit which is missing from the previous video as well. Alright then, well, I'm going to get my hat on and I'll join you over at the hook. So back at the measuring hook again, and same as last time, I'm going to use this hook to help me take these white strands out from the centre. Now these strands are a little bit longer, so I might not be able to do it in a one. In fact, I know I won't be able to do it in a one. But I'm just going to do a quick tip here on what I do using this hook to help me get them out a bit quicker than would otherwise be the case. So same as before, I'm going to tease these out. So I've got enough to tie off, and I'm going to take that wrinkled section and I'm just going to work that all the way down to the end there. Okay, so I've done that again just to give me a little bit more, and then I'm going to take this, make a loop like that, put it over my hook, and then do the same 2 or 3 times, and that will securely fasten it. So I'll go over my hook and make a loop, pass it over the top. It really doesn't matter if all the strands grab or not. Same again. There we go. Nice and secure. So now I'm going to walk away from the hook and work this compressed section down to the end. And as you see, as I walk further and further away, more and more of this will start to come out. Now if I haven't got quite enough room, I can do the same again, so I can tie off back here by making a few loops on that hook. And then that means I've got another run at gutting these strands. So here we go. There we are, and then that's them all ready to testes 1 2. Here we have our core which we made in the last video. and I've strung it up in the same way as before. Again, no tension, it's just there to keep it at a nice working height. As before, we're going to start off around this part, and then we'll move everything up once the strands get set in. So I've set up my bundles in the same way as I have before. I've got them in two groups with the shortest sides alternating. So I'm going to take the first group from the middle, and I'm going to lay it onto the top of my handle like so. I'm going to take the second group. So I'm trying not to move my head too much and give you guys motion sickness. Okay, here we go. Take the second group, and I'm going to lay that below the first. Now what I'm going to do is take these bottom three strands. We've got 6 strands on either side. So I'm going to take the bottom 3 strands, I'm going to take them through this hole here and back over the top. So I'm going to bring my hand through, grab those 3 strands and bring them back over the top. Now because we're not putting a pattern in particularly on this one, like we're not putting a coloured pattern in, you don't really have to worry so long as your shortest strands are alternating on the correct sides. We don't really have to worry too much about what order they're in, sort of up and down the way. Okay, so I'll just sort of organise these a little bit. Now the way I like to think about this is, rather than thinking of sort of left hand side and right hand side, I'm thinking of like right hand side top group, right hand side bottom group, and the same on here. So we've got the bottom 3 strands on this side of the bottom group and the top 3 strands on this side of the top group. So now I've got everything in place. These were the last strands to come over, so I know I want something to come over on top of them over here. And it's this strand here, it's the very top strand on this side. So my hand's going to come, I'm going to separate it out with that finger. This hand's going to come through. And as I said before, at this point we're putting no tension on whatsoever. We just want to lay everything in neatly. So once that's gone over, I'll pull that strand over. And now we're going to do the other one, the other side. So I'm going to come in between the 2 groups we've got. Those are the top 3, those are the bottom 3. And I'm going to grab the top one from this side, bring it around and lay it in place. So, same again from this side, so I'm going to take the top one from this side. I'm going to come in between my 2 groups, so 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom. I'm going to come in between those, come through here and lay that one down. And then the next one. And then the next one on this side. So yeah, today we're doing a 12 plait. This is our second belly. And as before, we're going to drop out in singles. And I'll explain or show how to do that in a moment's time. You can see here we've got our plait is nicely started now. I'm just about ready to start putting on some tension, but I want all of these knotted parts up here above this section here. So I'm going to push that all the way up the top, give everything a nice little tug just to settle it in. And now I'm going to start putting on a little bit of tension, still not too much because I don't want to pull these knots through under here, but we're going to start cranking it up a bit now. Again, as before, in between my 3, so I'm coming under 3 over 3, and I like to, so if I'm coming to it straight off, I know this is the next one to come over, so I separate that out with one hand. I come in with this hand where I want to go. This finger is going to wipe these 3 strands flat to what I'm plaiting, and this finger is going to come round and wipe that flat to the plaiting. And then the next side. I'm going quite slow at the moment, just so you guys can see what's going on. And it's a little disconcerting having a camera strapped to your head and a side lamp strapped to that. Did I mention I'm not normal? Oh. So I said in the previous video about tension and why, well, I said that it's not always a great idea to plait as tight as you can. And the reason for that is it's a piece of advice that usually is correct, so generally it's good advice, but it's advice that I think has come over from leather whip making. When you're working with leather and you pull on a strap, there's a lot of stretch inside the leather itself, and because it's a natural product, skin effectively, it can keep on stretching as it works. So if you don't pull it tight enough at the start, what you'll find happening is that the whole whip can start to stretch and strands can come loose and that kind of thing. Now with nylon though, there's only a certain amount of stretch in it, and it's very little. So if you plait too tight, you're then in the situation where you can end up with something kind of more like a fishing rod than a whip. Now that's quite an extreme example, but I am quite an extreme person, so when I heard that advice at first and I carried over from leather whip making, I put a set of leather gloves on and I reefed as hard as I could on that thing, and I made myself a nice fishing pole. All we really want to do is put on enough tension to pull out any stretch and to make sure that everything is settled in nicely. You can see where I'm pulling on here. I don't know if you can see it. As I'm pulling on there, you can see this one moving. And that's all we want really. We just want that to lie in nicely. And we want as much flexibility from our thong as possible. So now I'm starting to reef up on the pressure a little bit because I want these loose bits out here pulled through. So I'm coming under 3, over 3 in this pattern. And I'm going to keep doing that until we get to, what was our drop, 20 inches, so it will be 21 including this inch on the end that we're going to cut off at the very end. So I'll take you through a bottom drop and a top drop again, and then I think I'll leave it because you can see in the last video oh yeah, there's the missing footage. You can see these strands, now they're longer, they're a little bit harder to manage, especially when you've got a lamp strapped to your shoulder. But I'm really not worried about them getting knotted. They slip past each other really easily. Okay, I'm here at my first drop, and which is going to be at 21 inches. Remember, we want it to drop out at 20 inches on the actual whip. but we've got an extra inch at the end of our handle, which will get cut off at the end. You can see here, this is the short strand, this is the next one I've got to drop. And you can see here that 21 inches is coming sort of exactly in the middle of these two bundles. So I'm going to either have to drop right here at the top at 20.5 inches, or I'm going to have to drop down here at the bottom, which will probably put it at 21.5 inches. So that's my choice. I'm going to drop from the top this time, and I'll go through that now and just show you how to do it. Yeah, so that's why it's a good idea, rather than measuring from your last drop, it's a good idea to use a tape each time. And then, so even if this one is a little bit before or a little bit after, your next one will come in at the right place. Okay, let's get rid of that. So my next one to drop is this top one. And I'm going to come through as if I'm going to plait it. I'm going to pull it, and then I'm going to let it go. I'm then going to grab the next one, so that's this one here, the next one next to it, and I'm going to plait that one instead. So what we'll have now, I just tie that one up out the way. I'll just imagine that's not there anymore. So what we have now is we have a group of 3 at the bottom, and because we dropped out one from the top, we've got a group of 2 at the top on this side. So as we start to plait on, we're going to go under 2 over 3 on this side. This side still has 2 groups of 3, so we're still going under 3 over 3 on this side. Right, I'm going to plait on, and I'll show you another bottom drop, and then and then I'll take you down the other end and show you what I do when I run out of enough strands to plait with. Here at the next drop, so this is the next one to come out. It's on the left hand side, it's our next shortest one, and just looking at the measurement here, we want it to drop out at 25.5, so that's including the inch up the other end. So this is how to drop out one of these strands from the bottom. So I'm going to plait this, I'm going to plait this through, and then I'll show you how to drop it out. I should point out as well, this is the second belly, so we've still got an overlay to go on top, and that is why I'm dropping to the outside. It means that we don't get any excess, like lumps or any excess material, and here we get a really nice smooth taper. And because this is being held by the layer above it, it doesn't need to be quite as secure as the overlay will need to be. One other thing which I wanted to go through today as well is, like, when you've finished each belly, and what you can do is you can go along, and you know which strand this is. This is strand number 12 on the second belly. You can see how much excess you've got here, and then measure like 6 inches, because you need something to be able to pull on. But you can measure like 6, call it 8 inches, just to make it sort of generous. And then you can amend your table to tell you how long you need to cut the strands next time and not waste quite as much. I find I tend to keep all of my offcuts, which are over kind of a foot or two. There's loads of different uses for them. If you look in one of my videos I've got up there from Beamish Halloween, I think it is, you'll see the shirt I'm wearing there is actually made out of polished aluminium and offcuts from whip making. It comes in incredibly handy in all sorts of things. Sometimes they're even long enough to make falls and bits and pieces. You can make keychains. So yeah, I tend to keep hold of most of the offcut. Rightio. So yeah, so that's the next one to come out. So I'm going to take it down the bottom, pull it tight, lay it in, and then I'm going to lay one over the top of it. So still under 3 over 3 on this side. And once it's gone over, I'm then going to take it up the top here and tie it off. just so it's out the way. Not too tight because you don't want to upset what's going on down here. And then I'm just going to carry on plaiting as if it wasn't there. So I'm going to come again on this side. So we've got 3 at the bottom here, 2 at the top. And then on this next one, you see as it comes through, we'll have 3 at the top and just 2 at the bottom here. So now I'm continuing with that pattern. So on this side, we're going under 2, over 3. And on this side, we're coming under 3, over 2. I'm now at the point where I want to drop out strand number 4, and that's actually quite easy. I'm going to do it pretty much as a top drop. So I wait until it's close to where it wants to drop off, and then I plait on a little bit ahead of it, as far as I can, with 3 strands, which is usually just 1 coming over. Now I'm going to take this strand that's coming over, which is holding all this lot in place, and what I'm going to do is force that on the inside of this one. I'm going to use my lacing needle to do that. So what I do is I take off some tension on the whole thing so that I can move this around and I can compress this, and if this is all tight, it's going to be virtually impossible to get one strand inside the other one. So I'm going to measure down from my drop here, and I want it to end at 4.5 inches. So I'm going to give it 5 inches, which is just going to give us a little bit extra for expansion. So like when you force one piece inside another, it's going to expand out that way and shrink down this way. On such a short run with only 4.5 inches, it's going to be very minimal the amount it does that. And the other reason I'm adding a little bit in there is so that I've got something to be able to clip off. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so at 5 inches here, I am going to grab hold of the core, and I'm going to go in through the side wall with my feed like this. Okay. Now I'm going to take my lacing needle, and I'm just going to go on the inside like that. And basically I want to pull this tight and see where I want it to disappear inside. So that's right about there. So that's where I want this needle to pop out. So once I get there, I can then start working through, and there we go. Now I don't want any twist inside of here, so I'm going to pull from here and just try and keep everything straight. Try and get all of the twist out before I put it on the inside. And just the same as before, I'll open this up, pull it right to the end there. I am going to snip it off. And then that little fluffy bit there, just going to toast down until it makes a nice bead. And then give it a few seconds to dry. Don't touch it at that point, because if you touch it, you'll stick to it and you'll make like a little spike or something that will catch when you try and pull through. So next up, I'm going to push this outer sleeve along so it's good and compressed. And then I'm just going to work, there we go, that one into the inside. And the same on the other end. So I'm going to pull it all the way through. There we go. So now I'm going to pull this one through, and I'm going to check as I'm doing it that it's not hanging up on any of the other strands, and it's not twisted as it goes inside this section. I'm doing this sat down, by the way, just so that you guys can see it a little bit more up close. Let's see how that's going to go in. Just about okay, I reckon. Okay, well, we've got some twist there, so what do I do about that? I'm going to pull that back out again. Decent amount. I'm going to take that strand the way I want it to go, and I'm going to push all of that twist right to the end. And then I'm going to pull it through, and I can kind of caterpillar it like this until that twist goes inside. And then when you pull that whole section through, that twist will come out the other side there. There we go. So I'm going to pull that strand nice and tight, and then I'm going to pull the outside sleeve nice and tight. And then I want to get rid of this on the inside of here, so I'm just going to pull that sleeve back ever so slightly. And if you remember, we had ½ an inch extra, so I'm just going to cut off about ½ an inch there. Now when I let go, I'm just going to let it pull that inside into there. Okay, so that's the missing bit of footage from yesterday, and you can carry on and finish this belly in exactly the same manner as yesterday, so I won't film that again. So there's still the rolling to do, bit more binding, clipping off these bits, but essentially that's the plaiting done on our second belly. It might be a little bit of time before I come and make the overlay for this whip. I've got to go and do some work up in Scotland, so it might be a week or so, and the weather's sort of playing havoc with us at the moment, so things are all a bit up in the air at the moment. But I'll get it done as soon as I can. I really hope you're enjoying this series. If you are, please leave me a like. If you're not, let me know why, politely. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.